Okay, here we are at the Pasadena Book Fair. It's February 2014, and the book fair is sponsored by the Southern California chapter of ABAA. And our next interview is with Lynne Owens of Thorn Books. Lynn, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine. It's a wonderful fair, thank you.
She's doing well, and her better half is sitting to her right and being a good sport about it. Okay. I'm going to ask you about your background, where you grew up, your family, siblings, what schools you attended, and stuff like that. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay. My dad worked for Eastman Kodak, so I was born in Rochester, New York. We spent a few years in the early 50s in Dallas, Texas, which was a major culture shock from upstate New York. And then in the later 50s, we moved to Los Angeles, and I finished growing up as a San Fernando Valley girl.
Oh, a Valley girl.
Yes, I'm a Valley girl. I'm literate.
The only one.
I went to one of the public community colleges for a couple of years, and then went to something called the San Fernando Valley State College, where I got my undergraduate degree in English literature. And worked for a couple of years, and it turned into California State University Northridge, and I went back to the same school with a different name and got my graduate degree in English.
Great.
And then went to work in business. Nothing related to books.
What did your parents do?
My mother was a traditional stay-at-home, heavy-duty volunteer housewife. She was a State Department hostess. So we entertained a lot of foreign visitors, which was very broadening for a young lady growing up. And my dad was the second in command at the Kodak Processing Laboratory in Hollywood.
Wow, that's a big responsibility out there.
That was very interesting.
So when did you finally get your degree?
I finally got my degree in '72.
Okay, all right. What'd you do after that?
I went to work for an insurance company.
How boring.
It was boring, but because I went to work for insurance companies, I had to meet my partner and husband.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, a mutual acquaintance said we were the two strangest, oddest people he had ever met, and we should meet each other.
So it worked. It worked. So when did you meet each other?
We met each other in '76. He didn't call me until '77. And we were married in '78.
Wow, he's a fast worker.
We were older.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going to say it's a little slow, but it took a whole year for you to call her, huh?
It did, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now you're married, and what are you doing now? You're still working as in the insurance business?
Well, I didn't work for a while. And then we moved, and I got another just job. And actually, about the time we moved, we started acquiring stock. And that
just out of the blue? Or?
Well, when I was a young lady growing up, my parents thought a cool way to spend the weekend was at the old Ambassador book fairs.
Oh, those are great fairs.
They were wonderful fairs.
Great fairs.
They were wonderful fairs. Everybody was half stewed by the middle of the day.
Sometimes earlier.
Yeah, but I grew up with books. Books had to be there at Christmas and birthday and Easter and whatever. So I go back a long way with nice books. And the dealers at the Ambassador were fabulous.
Oh, absolutely.
They were very giving of their time and knowledge.
Sharing.
Yes.
They shared.
Yes.
Which is true today. This is a business where people do share with each other.
Yes. And it's great. I love it.
So when did you decide that this was going to be your livelihood?
Well, we started amassing stock in '87, and we opened our shop in '88. And the deal when we opened the shop, I said, is if we're going to be in the used book business, it's not going to be used books. It's going to grow up to be fine books, and we will apply to the ABAA the moment we are eligible.
Right.
The moment we are eligible. So we worked on improving our education and improving our stock and getting a good handle on this. I went to the Denver School in 1991.
Mm-hmm. Graduate.
You were one of the faculty members.
I guess I'm always there. Not anymore, but I used to be a fixture.
It was a wonderful week. We learned things, we met people. It was just great, and it cut 6 months off our time.
Right. Vic Sosiak did the same thing.
Yes, and Jean Palmer, bless her heart, was going to be our sponsor, but hadn't been in long enough to do it. And one day on one of his outings, James Pepper wandered into a book mall where we had a book with a Boris Karloff signature, which got his attention. So he came down to the shop and looked around and said, "Why aren't you in the ABAA?" And I said, "Because I don't have a sponsor who's been there long enough." And he said, "You do now. We'll sponsor you. I'll get Kem Carmiel to sponsor you." And it was done fast enough, so we did the next Los Angeles Fair.
Which was what year?
It was 92.
92.
We were 2 doors down from Heritage. I totally believe in the fairness of the lottery.
Yeah. I mean, it is incredibly fair. And, you know, you can attend the lottery. I attend the lottery for the Boston Book Fair. Just because.
Because.
You know, somebody should be there just because. So.
Yeah, I have no doubts about it.
No, it's completely fair and the way all the places do things. But sometimes people on the outside looking in don't have the same
Yeah, of
opinion.
course.
You know, I'm always in the 6th row. I'm always in the 7th row. I said, well, you know, when you pick your name out of the hat for the next booth,
That's how it
That's
works.
how it goes.
That's how it works.
So, you've opened your shop, and what's the year of your opening your shop? 1990?
88.
88. And 91 you become a member.
Yes.
And 92 is your first Southern Cal
First
book.
big fair.
First big fair. How many fairs do you do on an annual basis?
We usually only do 2,
Just the West Coast ones?
just the West Coast ones. We live in Tucson, and transportation and shipping from Tucson is difficult.
Yeah.
We are in a backwater from a transportation.
Yeah.
And it's very easy. This is our home base. This was our home base for so many years. We used to do the Glendale Civic Auditorium book fairs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which were wonderful
Yeah.
fun because everybody was there from the magazine seller to the big boys in the
Yeah.
business.
Good cross section.
Fabulous cross section. Miss them. Miss that kind of fair.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of local fairs that go on that you can get the same kind of, you know, rush out of it, if you will. Let's see. Other than perhaps Ken Carmiel and Jim Pepper, who were some of the other booksellers that were like mentors or were very helpful to you when you first became a member?
Well, Gene and Jerry Palmer at Palmer Polar
Yeah.
were fabulous. We saw a lot of them. We knew a lot of them. We were in a backwater. We lived out of central Los Angeles, so we were sort of on our own. But people were very good. Actually, our very first book fair, Heritage looked at something and said, "You know this is a beautiful first edition. I have a customer for it." So we came away happy with everybody. We did not, I don't think, and James can correct me, if we had a lot of real mentors. We sort of went it on our own.
We did have Milton Hammer.
I wasn't going to mention him.
I know, but he did give us good training in bibliographic reference.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
How to do it and how not to do it.
Well, what's important? How not to do it is just as important.
We got a lot of how not to do it from him. Yes, we did. And we had been pretty much on our own by the time we encountered you all at the book school.
Right.
And we had pretty much acquired the basics. You filled in so many blanks for
Well,
us.
that's the beauty of that. Everybody has different blanks that need to be filled in, and we try to fill in all the blanks for everybody.
And possibly the best thing that happened to us at the book fair was Dick Weatherford saying, "Learn to use the internet. It's what's coming for our business."
He was right.
And he was right. Actually, we launched our website in '92. We believed, and it served us well.
Yeah, it is the future until it crashes, and then we all go back to doing what we used to do. But I don't think that's going to happen. Did you have an easy or a difficult transition from your regular business to computers?
It was a little hard for me. It was easy for my husband.
Well, what part of it
I was
hard?
just resistant. I was a book person. I was
Right.
resistant to technology.
Yeah, I had felt the same way until I could see what was going on.
Yes.
And I didn't want to be left behind.
Exactly. And one day he walked into the shop with a new laptop and said, "Here, you have to learn to use it." And it was very short time before I decided this was wonderful. just wonderful.
It is. It's a wonderful two-edged sword when you think about it.
Yes.
Look at all the people all over the world you're reaching that you could never
Would never
reach
Would
any
never
other
reach.
way.
Yeah,
And by the by, I've just recently heard that Dick Weatherford is not doing well.
that's too bad.
So if you know him at all, or maybe send him an email,
Drop him a
and
note.
cheer him up, or what
Yeah.
have you. What do you see as some of the challenges that we face as booksellers going forward the next 5, 10, or 15 years?
One is going to be keeping up with technology.
Yeah.
As a general group of mature citizens, I'm astounded at how well we do as a whole. And the other thing is we're finding that it's more difficult to get fine stock because everyone has internet access, and if they have their grandparents' books and access to eBay or ABAA, they believe they're booksellers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So rather than selling to us, they're trying to sell it themselves and not coming to us. And this is getting to be a bigger and bigger problem.
Yeah, many of the people I interview feel the same way. There's a lot of bogus dealers out there.
Yes,
You know, they put their hand on a rock and say, I am a bookseller.
Yes.
That's all it takes, really.
Yes.
But a lot of people, libraries I do business with, tell me they would rather pay more from somebody they know than pay less from somebody they never heard of.
yes, because you never know what's going to show up no matter what the description said. Exactly.
What do you got in your notes?
I've got things I should remember if you ask me specific questions.
Okay.
Interesting things that have happened to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
One of the things that we always heard about when we were becoming baby booksellers was the little old lady with the paper bag full of books. Yes, exactly. I had a customer in my shop who was an older gentleman who came in every couple of weeks for like a year, chatted, maybe bought a book, whatever. And one day he went, I'll bet you buy books too.
Oh, it suddenly came to him?
It suddenly came to him, and I said, yes, as a matter of fact I do. He said, I have a suitcase under my bed full of my grandfather's old books. Okay. I said, take a look at them. So he brought them in, and it was stereotypical what you think of. I opened them, and there were little plastic vegetable bags tied with little strings and twist ties.
Yeah.
And included in it was Hamilton's review of the finances of the United States from right after we became a country.
Oh, wow.
An early little goody two-shoes, some truly fabulous stuff. And it got even better. I said, you need to give me some time. I need to do my research. The internet was not that available at the time.
Not in that day.
So I said, I need to do some research on what these are worth. And he'd call me and I'd say, give me time. And he'd call me and I'd say, just hold on.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me one day and said, well, how are you doing? I said, well, let me tell you. You give me another 2 weeks and you'll be doing good. If you want your money today, I'll write you a check for $1,500 and I'll be cheating you.
Mm.
He said, cool, write me the check for $1,500 and I'll stop calling you.
Well, it's a small price to pay for silence.
So I did. It was a wonderful buy.
Yeah, oh,
He was
sorry.
he was happy, I was happy.
Everybody was
Just-
happy.
And that's the way it should work.
What else you got in your notes?
Well, I was called by one of the local law firms in our little area, old, reliable law firm. They said, I have 3 wooden cases of books in my office. I need an appraiser. Can you come over? So I said, sure. So I went over to their office, and there was a senior partner with a hammer and a crowbar, and 3 wooden cases of books and a law clerk. And some of the most beautiful leather-bound books I have ever seen in my life came out of, there was a Dumas, Victor Hugo. There was a Victor Hugo set in turquoise Morocco with enameled spines.
Dentelles, raised
Dentelles,
band,
everything, the whole
works.
works. Done,
There was the Napoleons.
and there was the Napoleon set like that,
Signatures.
and there was the red and gold leather Ruskin set. Just yummy books.
Yeah.
And so I did the appraisal, and all the time I'm doing it, the man of the couple who owns it is going, I'm going to have to pay estate taxes on this stuff. Remember that. Keep it down.
Keep it down.
So I finished the appraisal and we talked, and it turned out that this couple, she was a deputy sheriff up in Northern California. He was a sheriff's coroner, not a doctor,
Yeah,
just a
a
sheriff
sheriff's coroner.
coroner. Up in Northern California, they made practically nothing. They'd gone to Southern California for her aunt's funeral. Her aunt had been the housekeeper for Mr. and Mrs. Howard, who owned Seabiscuit. When they died, their entire estate went into trust for their housekeeper. The housekeeper had died. The estate had come out of trust. It was worth $64 million.
Oh my.
And this nice lady was the sole heir.
Wow. That's a lot of bananas.
That's a lot.
$64 million can buy a lot of Chiquita bananas, that's for sure.
And they were very ordinary. They didn't care about the books. They stayed very ordinary people.
Really?
It was wonderful. It was one of those really great experiences.
What else is on your sheet?
Our other thing is really funny. You'll like this.
Okay, good. I like stories.
After, you remember the Christie's auction for the Doheny
Yes.
Library?
Yeah.
We were in the area when that happened. So we went to the auction and we bought a few things. And a few years later, the library, the Doheny Library, sent a letter out to all the Southern California dealers and said, we need help. We still have a lot of books in the library. We don't know what they are. We need someone to help us sort them. And all of the big names in Southern California couldn't be bothered because they thought they were looking for a free appraisal.
Yeah.
They weren't looking for a free appraisal. They were looking for a clean and dirty sort.
Yeah.
So I called them and said, yeah, I can do it. Well, they did not sell everything at the auction.
I know.
Yes. My mom and I spent a day a week up there, got to the point where they gave us a key to the rare book cases.
Wow.
And we sorted into 5 groups. Chuck it. It's really bad. Have a library sale, find a good general bookseller and sell these to them, and find an antiquarian and either sell or consign. And the 5th one was, these belong in a theological library. Keep them. And every morning get on your knees and pray that you have a scholar who can use them. But in that collection there was an Audubon's Quadrupeds that was left. There was a first edition First State Utopia that was left. And it was a wonderful, playing in that library for there was a Melville. It was a wonderful thing.
It's always fun to play with really wonderful books
Really
that
wonderful
perhaps
books.
you'll never get.
You'll never touch again. And the library itself was wonderful.
Yeah,
Just wonderful.
Doheny's a beautiful library. Even the sale, the volumes of the sale bring money at auction nowadays.
Yes.
Because of the descriptions and all the other stuff is just really great.
Yeah.
You got anything else? Give us your best shot.
Give us your best shot. Well, I can tell you something you like. How we started, really? You remember Bookman's Weekly? Of course you do.
Of course, A.B. Bookman's
It
Weekly.
came every week. I got home from work, forget dinner,
Yeah, of course.
sat down with my pile of 3x5 cards and my rubber stamp, exactly that size with little blanks on it, and went through and quoted books.
Books wanted, books for sale.
We actually sold some once in a while, but we've come a very long way, so we love it. We're happy here.
Yeah, it's a wonderful business, and you can work it as long as you want or as short as you want for time and for energy. And you know, I don't know too many businesses that allow you that kind of freedom.
Yeah, and we've been happy doing this.
You've enjoyed it a lot.
We've enjoyed it, and the people have been wonderful. We've met fabulous people. We still have a friend that we met at our very first Glendale Fair in 1987, when we took more books with us than we could get back in the car when the book fair was done.
That's always embarrassing. So what'd you do, leave a box by the side of the road or something?
Fortunately, my mother was there with her car,
Oh.
so we loaded the extra into her car. Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Well, you learned a lot about doing a book fair from doing that
yes,
one.
we did.
You know, you keep on, you know, everything's a learning experience, isn't
Yeah.
it? Everything keeps on
And it
coming
still
back
is.
to you. It's not coming back to you. One of the questions I ask is, what are the challenges we face as booksellers moving forward into the next 5 or 10 or 15 years?
Well, we touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I truly think keeping, for those of us who didn't grow up with computers and internet, keeping up with that is always going to be a little bit of a challenge. Technology is always going to be a little bit of a challenge for us. And always and more, we're seeing fewer and fewer situations where the nice young lady calls and says, I have my grandfather's books And when she gets there, she opened her backpack, and there are a couple beautiful Kelmscotts.
Yeah.
It's just, the stock we're seeing is not as in good condition. It's not as nice. It's getting harder and harder to keep the shelves full of really good things.
Really?
Yeah, it's just, and more often than not, it's showing up in need of restoration. And that's getting tough too, because most people don't have an in-house binder.
You guys have an open shop, don't you?
No, we don't.
Did you close it?
We closed the open shop in about, it was closed when we had the earthquake, so we must have closed in about 93,
And we're by appointment only.
and went to appointment
Appointment
by
only,
appointment only. Yeah.
And that's the way you've had it ever
That's,
since.
and now we're working out of our home.
Yeah, which is, I've always done that.
Yeah. The open shop was difficult if you couldn't leave it to buy books. You had
No.
to keep your hours. You had to deal with the people who walked in. I had a regular visitor who was a paranoid schizophrenic. It just was better closing it.
You had a man that read the book and hid it.
Yeah, and I had the men who came in and read part of a book and then hid it till he came back again.
So we could read it
So
again.
again, so one day I hid it.
And what did he say?
He was mad. He said I hadn't finished that.
Well, why don't you buy it? Then you finish it whenever you please. Okay, we've come to the end of our 30 minutes,
Okay,
and
thank
it's
you.
been very enjoyable. I
It's
liked
been
your
a pleasure.
stories, and it's the part of the trade that you can't translate. People have to sit down and be with them. Oh, I remember what happened to so and so, and this.
Yeah.
These stories, when we go, the stories go.
The stories go.
But that's not going to happen because this project is going to keep those stories alive forever.
We think it's a wonderful thing, and especially as we're starting to lose some of the people you've
I
done.
know. It's it.
That-
Well, thank God we've got them. We've got them on film, on tape, and for posterity.
And we've got the technology.
And we got the technology to keep them
Yeah.
for a long, long time to come.
So it's been a pleasure, Michael.